Hi everyone, and welcome to Stories and Scribes, your number one platform for all things Christian fiction. We review, we talk about authors, and everything that is Christian fiction. And I'm your host, Jade. It's been a minute, like I said in my other video, and I just couldn't help but come back. You know, when life happens to you, you still have to bounce back. Say, though the righteous fall 7 times, he will surely rise again. So I'm here, a reason. Oh, don't mind me, but I'm so glad to be back. 2021 has amazing books. Some from 2020, which we're reading 2021. Amazing authors have published amazing books in 2021. And the first review I'm doing on this particular platform is by one of my favorite authors, Tessa Afshar, and it is called Daughter of Rome. This book is an amazing book. Like, I don't want to do spoilers or give spoilers, but I want to say that this is one of the best biblical fiction that I have read in a while. And in this review, I'm giving it 5 stars because of the extensive research that has been done in it and how it brought to light the gospel, especially from Rome to Corinth, and how it highlighted the principal actors in quote of propagating the gospel of Jesus in Corinth and in Rome, which are Priscilla and Aquila. And you know that when I was growing up, when we used to read, Priscilla and Aquila, when Paul used to write those letters, I used to say, when I had twins, I'm going to name one Priscilla and one Aquila, because their contribution to the gospel in their time and even in this generation, like the influence of their contribution to the gospel in our generation is so profound. I know one thing I want to applaud Priscilla for. She's one of the women that we always reference when we're talking about, that debate, should women preach, should women not preach? Priscilla was one of the women that paved the way for women to preach in church. Like, please, can we give her a round of applause? Because that debate of women should not preach, women should preach, women should be under, all of that. Priscilla showed us that the gospel can be preached through whatever vessel is available for God to use. So we look to her as an example. We look to her as a forerunner in allowing women also stand in the forefront of preaching the gospel. So before I talk, let's read the synopsis and move on from there. Okay. A woman with a devastating secret. A man bent on proving his worth. A chance encounter that catapults them into the heart of history. When the daughter of a prominent Roman general meets a disinherited Jewish immigrant, neither of them can dream God's plan to transform them into the most influential couple of the early church, nor can they anticipate the mountains that would threaten to bury them. Their courtship unwittingly shadowed by murder and betrayal, Priscilla and Aquila slowly walk to build a community of believers where their lives grow increasingly complicated thanks to a shaggy dog, a mysterious runaway, a ruthless foe desperate for love. But when they are banished from their home by a capricious emperor, they must join forces with an unusual rabbi named Paul and fight to turn treachery into redemption. With impeccable research and vivid detail, Daughter of Rome is both an emotive love story and an immersive journey through the first century Rome and Corinth, reminding readers once again why Debbie McComb has said that no one brings the Bible to life like Tessa. And this is so true. Like, if you read her books, and even the ones I've done the review on, we go through our YouTube channel, look at the reviews I've done on Thief of Corinth and Land of Silence and all the other books I've read of Tessa. There's a way she brings to life biblical stories with extensive research. And I think that one of the things that makes Tessa one of my absolute best is how she brings spiritual reality even in the pages of her books. In reading this book, like I mentioned, the work that Priscilla and Aquila did in the early church has transcended through in this generation. And I really, really want to thank them because they really brought to light the gospel. And in reading through the book, you will see how God can use your story. God can use the transformative work He's doing in your life to show you the lives of others. And one of the major lessons I learned in this book is that we must give our all to follow Christ. I know sometimes it's very popular to say I'm a Christian. It's very popular to say I believe in God. I go to church. I post Christian things on Instagram and WhatsApp statuses and all of that. But the thing is that the daily dealings that God is doing in your life, how are you surrendering to it? Paul said, I die daily. Jesus says that whoever must follow me must deny himself, pick up his cross. And I'm asking myself in reading this book, and I'm also asking you, how are we denying ourselves? How are we dying daily to Christ? And one of the things, let me give you a little story. I remember growing up, because I've been a Christian most of my life, I know how judgmental I could be in growing up. Until I now began to face some certain things in my own life, and I understood the mercy of God. And sometimes it is easy for us to say, okay, because I've been a Christian, or because I know the gospel, because I've had encounters with God, that I am above certain things. Until God begins to shine his own light in your own life. There's some times when God now shines his light in your life, and you know that you have received mercy. And you, by understanding the mercy of God, you extend mercy even to other people. And those are one of the critical lessons I learned in this book. And I learned that sometimes, especially, Priscilla was she was Roman, and because there was no love in her life, like the person she adored, her dad had died. Her brother had no love for her, like treated her worse than a slave. So there was this yearning for love, and because she had committed like a sin in her life that had so guilted her that she could not see beyond that sin. Reading this book was amazing in many, many ways. Sometimes there are things that we've done in our past that we think that God can never forgive. There's sometimes that other people will judge us based on what we have done. But the truth is, as long as we recognize that God's love covers us, we will keep hunting ourselves with that. When you've done something that you think that you shouldn't have done, and maybe when you say it, it looks like you're going to be judged by it, by other people. The truth is that God doesn't judge us. Once we come to the point where we recognize that we have sinned, once we come to the point of repentance, God truly loves us, and God truly forgives us. And that's one point that Priscilla came to recognize, and that is why her heart was able to feel compassion even for other people. See, I'm a beneficiary of God's mercy. I know that many of you listening are also beneficiaries of God's mercy. And it is, blessed are those who are merciful, for they will show mercy. They will be shown mercy. Be merciful. It is an attribute of God because it's an extension of God's love that covers a multitude of sin. And I'm not saying covering sin in such a way that people don't recognize that what they've done is bad. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking of recognizing that God's power of love over you supersedes the sin that you've committed. Supersedes anything that you think that you've done so bad that you think that nobody can ever forgive you. When God says he forgives you, he forgives you. As far as the east is from the west, so I have forgotten your sin. That's God's promise to us and God's word towards us. And Aquila too, because he was Jewish, I know they already have high moral standards, and he had also come to recognize God. He was also a bit judgmental, and God had to take him through recognizing his own faults to see that I can not say I'm a beneficiary of God's love and be judgmental. And I think that it's so amazing to note that God's love is amazing. And once you've received mercy, extend hand of mercy to others around you. Extend the hand of God's love to others around you, because those are one of the ways that you show that God's love covers, and God's love is superior, and God's love is enough to take it, is capable of taking anything that we seem to have done that seems to be wrong. And like I said earlier, I applaud Priscilla for taking up the cross and following Jesus, irrespective of the fact that she was Roman. And she was persecuted because when there is grace upon your life, people are envious of you. Yes. But do you know that in reading this book, I still understood the extent to which mercy can be shown? Because there was a part in Priscilla's life that someone that had done her wrong and caused her to be exiled from her home came to her for help. And she did not cast the person away. And I'm like, crying out loud, like how is that possible? And that is only possible because you have experienced God's love. You have experienced mercy. And as you've experienced mercy, Priscilla experienced mercy, and she was able to show mercy to others. Paul, in this book, was hilarious, and I love the way he took the gospel, as simple as it was. And in this book, I saw the bravery of Paul. Like, he was undeterred from preaching the gospel. They stoned him today. Tomorrow he'll go back to the same place. You understand? He was so dogged in what he believed, and his conviction about who Christ was undoubted. Like, there is nothing that could happen, can happen, will happen, that will make him change his mind about who Christ was. And in those days, if you know, when they gave their life to Christ, it was an encounter they had, and they followed Christ till the end. And that's why I'm grateful for God's love, and I'm grateful for second chances. I'm grateful for the mercy of God. I'm grateful for Priscilla and Aquila. I'm grateful for Paul. I'm grateful for Theo. Who remembers Theo from Thief of Corinth? Oh my God, I'm grateful for those examples that God gave us. And I'm grateful for people like Tessa and Christian fiction authors that are transforming this book to relatable, understandable text and languages, fusing them with storylines that make us understand the depth, the width, the length, the breadth of God's love, and the reality of what we are doing with Christ. You know, I would encourage you to buy this book. I got this book at Sefer Books, the #1 online Christian fiction bookstore in Nigeria. Please DM them to get this book, and it's an amazing book. If you've read Daughter of Rome, please can you leave a comments in the comment section so that we interact and we discuss, and you know, we do more with what this book is about. Thank you so much for listening to this review. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and wait for the next video to drop. Bye bye.